So imagine you're just sitting in a crowded cafe, right?
Yeah.
You got your headphones on, you're like trying to get some work done.
Right, in your own little world.
Exactly. And a really catchy song shuffles onto your playlist. And without even a single conscious thought, your foot just starts tapping.
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time.
Right. Like you didn't tell your brain to send this complex neurological signal down your leg to match that beat. It just happened.
It's completely automatic.
Yeah. So why does your body actually do that?
Yeah.
That's what we are doing a deep dive into today, looking at this really fascinating resource called Let's Practice Kathak, where we learn dance as a lifestyle.
It's by Let's Practice Academy. And it's really, well, it presents this radical premise, right?
Yeah, that dance isn't just some, extracurricular activity.
Yeah.
It's an essential life skill.
It totally is, because it's entirely reframing the purpose of movement. I mean, we live in a world that's just increasingly dominated by screens and algorithms.
Oh, for sure.
And the source material actually uses this brilliant phrase for that. It calls all of that artificial intelligence outside.
I love that phrasing, artificial intelligence outside.
Right. But then it contrasts that with what it calls the creative intelligence inside. So we're looking at how dance is actually a primary method for understanding our own internal emotional landscape.
And projecting that out into the world, too. It's really not just about putting on a show or looking pretty.
No, not at all. It is fundamentally about building mental resilience and, mastering communication.
And the way this book approaches it is just so inviting, because it structures the whole learning process as this really gentle, open conversation between a teacher and a student.
Yeah, it establishes right out of the gate that there are no dumb questions, only curious ones.
Which is exactly the energy we're bringing today.
Yeah.
We're treating you, the listener, as that ultimate curious student. So let's just get right into it.
Well, to really understand that creative intelligence inside us, we kind of have to look at the causality of movement.
Right? Like where it comes from.
Exactly. Dance was born from feelings. It wasn't, invented as this highly structured discipline with specific uniforms and mirrored studios.
Right, the feeling had to come first. The structure came, thousands of years later?
Exactly. Just to serve that initial feeling. Historically, people just moved their bodies to tell complex stories or to express overwhelming happiness when language just fell short.
So the clothes have changed, the music has evolved, obviously,
Right.
but the actual heart of it has stayed exactly the same.
Totally.
There's actually a dedication in this book that really drives this home for me. It says, to every child who moves before thinking.
Oh, I love that.
Right, it brings us right back to that foot tapping in the cafe. It's just this involuntary, automatic expression of joy. It's this primal urge to communicate.
And that involuntary response is really what redefines what actually counts as dance.
How so?
Well, we've been so culturally conditioned to believe that dance only happens when you're, executing a choreographed routine in a formal setting.
Oh, sure, like recital halls, tutus, that sort of thing.
Right. But this framework just completely shatters that definition. It says dance happens in villages, it happens under the open sky, and it happens when your body simply feels joyful and moves on its own.
So we all have this innate primal language kind of coded into our nervous system.
We do, just waiting for us to tune in. And the best part is, you don't need a certificate to use it.
That's incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
But it does make me wonder, if we all possess this primal language,
Yeah.
how do we actually speak it? Like, what are the words?
That is the perfect question. And it brings us to the vocabulary of the body, specifically a concept called the navrasas.
The navrasas. Okay, let's unpack that.
So the navrasas are the 9 specific foundational feelings or emotions that are traditionally expressed in Indian dance and arts.
They form the core emotional vocabulary, essentially.
Exactly. They are the building blocks.
And those 9 are, let me make sure I get them all: joy, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, love, courage, calm, and wonder.
You got it. In your head, your eyes, your hands, your feet, your entire physical form becomes the instrument to express these.
Okay, but I have a logistical question here, just as the curious student.
Go for it.
I can easily picture how a dancer physically broadcasts joy, right? Like you jump, your tempo increases, your posture opens up.
Right. It's very expansive.
And sadness is universally understood too. The shoulders slump, the chest caves in, movements get all heavy and lethargic. Even anger is intuitive. It's sharp, sudden.
Aggressive, yeah.
But how do you physically dance a complex, highly internal emotion like calm or like wonder That seems so hard.
It's a great point because when we think of dance, our minds default to macro movements,
Yeah.
massive leaps, rapid spins, high kicks.
Exactly. Big, flashy stuff.
But projecting calm or wonder requires a complete shift into micro movement.
Micro movements.
Yeah, the text highlights this beautiful principle in this form of storytelling. The eyes talk and the hands explain.
The eyes talk and the hands explain. Wow.
Right, so to dance wonder, the legs might not move at all. The entire expression might be centralized in just the slow, deliberate widening of the eyes.
Oh, I see.
Or maybe a tiny millimeter shift upward of the chin. And a really delicate, highly specific positioning of the fingers that physically embodies awe.
So it's about the total mastery of your physical presence, rather than just athletic exertion.
Exactly. And calm, which you mentioned, requires an immense amount of physical control.
I can imagine. Trying to hold perfectly still while conveying emotion sounds exhausting.
It really is. It might be expressed through the painfully slow, deliberate trajectory of a single hand gesture.
Accompanied by, what, a softening of the face?
Yes, a conscious softening of the facial muscles and a grounded, completely unmoving stance. The physical exertion actually comes from the restraint.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
You are creating a physical anchor for an internal state.
And think about the implications of this for you listening right now, even if you have never taken a single dance class in your life.
We're still doing it, aren't we?
Constantly. Your body language is constantly broadcasting these nevroses. How you stand in a meeting, how you cross your arms when you're defensive.
Where you let your eyes dart when you're anxious.
Exactly. That creative intelligence inside you is already speaking this language. Dance simply brings that unconscious broadcasting into sharp, deliberate focus.
Okay, so we have the primal urge to communicate, which is our motivation, and we have the nevroses, which are our vocabulary words.
Right.
But to communicate a coherent story, you can't just throw random words into the air. You need grammar.
You absolutely need grammar. A vocabulary without a framework just quickly devolves into chaos.
And this material lays out that grammar through what it calls the magic rules of dancing.
Yes. The rules provide the necessary boundaries for the creativity to actually take shape safely.
See, usually when I hear the word rules associated with any classical art form, my mind immediately pictures this rigid, kind of punitive environment.
Oh, like a strict ballet master with a cane.
Exactly. The whole no pain, no gain mentality. A teacher barking orders, demanding physical perfection at all costs. But the rules outlined here are entirely different.
They really are. They're incredibly mindful.
Yeah, let me list a few. It says, listen to your body. Listen to your teacher. Respect space. Move with care. Look towards your hands while dancing. Complete each step. Emote the correct emotion.
And then there's the really striking one.
Yes, practices kindness to yourself. I mean, that completely flips the script on what discipline even looks like.
It's revolutionary, honestly. Let's analyze the psychological mechanics of why this specific framing is so effective.
Please do, because it sounds almost too gentle to be effective.
Well, traditional no pain, no gain instruction relies heavily on cortisol stress and fear to drive performance.
It works right, to a point.
To a point. But neurologically, deep learning and genuine creativity actually shut down under chronic stress.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so by framing the rules around concepts like practice is kindness to yourself, the environment becomes psychologically safe.
And as a foundation of the book states, creativity grows where curiosity feels safe.
Exactly. It's essentially self-care disguised as discipline.
I love that. Let's look at the mechanics of the specific physical rules, too. Take look towards your hands while dancing.
That's a great one. On a purely physical level, it just ensures your body lines are geometrically correct.
Sure, it keeps your posture aligned.
But the cognitive benefit is much deeper. It forces absolute focus.
Right, because your mind can't wander off to your grocery list or your work emails if your eyes are locked onto the exact trajectory of your fingertips.
Exactly. It functions as a moving meditation.
It anchors you entirely in the present moment. Now, what about the rule quick, complete each step? That seems obvious on the surface.
It does, but think about when you're physically exhausted in the middle of a routine.
Well, I imagine it gets incredibly difficult.
It's fundamentally about building resilience. When muscle fatigue sets in, the brain's natural instinct is to conserve energy.
Right, to get sloppy, maybe cut corners.
Yeah, to drop the arms a fraction of an inch just to save effort.
Yeah.
But by consciously overriding that instinct, by committing to the full execution of the movement,
You're training your brain to push through friction.
exactly, you are building patience and follow-through. You're physically rewiring your neural pathways to finish what you start.
Which is obviously a universally applicable life skill.
Totally. And it ties perfectly into one of the most powerful mantras presented in the book. I don't dance to entertain. I learn dance as a life skill.
That is so profound. It completely removes the pressure of the audience. It makes it an entirely internal pursuit.
It really does.
Okay, so we understand the philosophy, we have the vocabulary of the nephroses, and we have the grammar of the magic rules.
Right.
Now, let's see what happens when you apply all of this under pressure in one of the most intricate forms of storytelling imaginable, Kathak,
Ah, Kathak. The name itself translates directly to storyteller.
which fits perfectly.
It does. It's a classical Indian dance that demands an extraordinary synthesis of mind and body. The feet talk, the spins flow, and the expressions speak.
But Kathak dancers don't just tell these stories in a vacuum, right? They rely on this crucial partnership with music.
Yes, specifically the rhythm provided by an instrument called the tabla.
Right, playing a 16-beat cycle known as teen tal. And the visual of the tabla in the book is so distinct.
It is. It's not just a single drum.
No, it's a pair of drums.
Yeah.
And they're resting on these thick, round cushions, often bright red, with intricate gold trim.
And the construction of each drum actually dictates its specific voice in the conversation.
Okay, walk me through that.
So the smaller drum on the right is carved out of wood, and it's wrapped really tightly in vertical leather straps.
And that produces the higher sound, right?
Exactly. It produces a sharp, high-pitched treble sound, a very distinct tin-tin.
Tin, okay. Then you have the drum on the left. It's larger, it's bowl-shaped, and made of this gleaming brass or metallic material.
And that larger drum gives you the deep, resonant bass.
The boom. So you have this constant interplay of the high tin and the deep boom.
Right. Now, if we think of Kathak as a complex novel being read aloud,
Which is a great analogy.
those 16 beats of the teen tal, the cycle you are constantly counting and clapping to, those are the physical pages holding the narrative together.
And the distinct sounds of the tabla, the tin and the boom, they act as the punctuation marks on those pages.
That's beautifully put. They signal to the dancer when a sentence ends, when a new thought begins, when to pause for dramatic effect.
Or when to accelerate the story.
Exactly. And the cognitive load required to actually execute this is staggering.
I can't even imagine. Just tapping my head and rubbing my stomach is hard enough.
Right. But this is where that concept of creative intelligence inside truly manifests. The dancer is operating in this state of intense duality.
Because on one side, you have the strict, unforgiving mathematics of the rhythm.
Yes. The 16 beats of teen tal require absolute precision. You have to clap, count, and land your intricate footwork precisely on the correct microsecond of the beat.
So it's fully engaging the logical, analytical, mathematical centers of the brain. You can't fake the math.
You absolutely cannot fake it. If you are off by a fraction of a second, the entire story falls apart.
But then, simultaneously, while processing all that rapid-fire math,
The dancer is layering on the fluid, deeply emotional storytelling of the nevroses.
wow. So you are calculating a 16-beat cycle while your facial micromovements are projecting, like delicate wonder or aggressive courage.
Exactly. It is the total integration of left brain logic and right brain creativity. It demands a level of physical and mental presence that forces out every other distraction.
It's the ultimate antidote to the distracted, fractured way we usually go through our days.
It really is. It pulls you entirely into the present.
But what I find really fascinating about this deep dive is that it doesn't just isolate this exploration to the elite classical studio.
No, it goes much broader than that.
Right. Kathak is a classical form. It's ancient, bound by these strict mathematical rules, passed down meticulously. But the material specifically zooms out to explore how context changes the way we tell stories.
It brings folk dances into the conversation, which is so important.
Yeah, because classical dance and folk dance serve entirely different communal functions, even though they stem from the exact same primal urge to move.
Exactly.
While classical dance feels like sitting down to read a beautifully structured, highly complex classic novel where every single syllable is curated, folk dance is completely different.
It's much more organic.
Yeah, these are the dances performed in villages, towns, and communities to mark specific life events.
A successful harvest, a wedding, the start of a new year, a local fair.
It's just this explosion of communal joy, and the mechanics of folk dance are basically designed for accessibility and group cohesion.
Think about the physical structures of these dances. The text mentions incredible Indian folk dances like Bhangra from Punjab, Garba from Gujarat.
Bihu from Assam and Gumar from Rajasthan.
Right, and it connects them to global traditions too, pointing out Morris dancing in England and Scottish Sealed dances.
So what do all of those have in common structurally?
Well, take the Scottish Sealed or the Gujarati Garba. They frequently involve moving in large circles, holding hands, or linking arms.
Oh, that's true. It's very communal.
And that isn't an accident. From a sociological and neurological perspective, moving rhythmically together in a group actually co-regulates the nervous system.
Co-regulates the nervous system.
Yes, when 50 people are stomping the ground at the exact same time during Bhangra, or spinning in a massive unified circle during Garba, the heart rates of the participants actually begin to sync up.
Are you serious? Their heart rates sync.
Yeah, it's documented science. The communal joy isn't just a metaphor, it is a physiological reality.
But that is wild. It's like a lively, chaotic, totally welcoming conversation at a neighborhood block party. Everyone is invited to speak.
Exactly. You don't need a decade of training and micro movements to jump into a Sealed. You just need the willingness to participate.
And by placing the highly disciplined Kathak spin and the communal jumping celebration of a folk dance in the exact same conversational space, this material does something really cool.
It strips away the elitism.
Yes, the elitism that so often acts as a barrier to entry for the arts. It reinforces this central, undeniable thesis: dance is for everyone.
That for all bodies, all ages, and all learners.
Dance is for everyone. I mean, if you create that psychologically safe space, the creative intelligence inside every single person will find a way to express itself.
It's an innate human drive.
So let's trace the path of what we've unpacked today for you listening. We started at the very beginning, that primal, automatic urge to tap your foot and communicate joy before a single word is formed.
Right, the urge to move.
Then we learned that we actually possess a highly sophisticated embodied vocabulary to express this through the 9 emotions of the Navrasas.
Utilizing everything from the tilt of our head to the focus of our eyes.
Then we examined the grammar of this language. We saw how rules like listen to your body and practices kindness aren't restrictive at all.
No, they're essential tools for building psychological safety, forcing mindfulness, and developing mental resilience.
Exactly. And then we witnessed how all of these elements, the primal urge, the emotional vocabulary, and the grammatical rules, combine under the intense pressure of Kathak.
Demanding that the dancer balance the strict mathematics of the 16-beat teen tao with the fluid emotional storytelling of their character.
Left brain meets right brain. And finally, we saw how this core human instinct scales outwards, connecting communities across the globe through the inclusive nervous system regulating power of folk dances.
It's an incredible journey. And, to bridge the gap between this theoretical understanding and your daily life, the material suggests a highly practical application.
Oh, the dance journal. Yes, I love this
It
part.
was brilliant. And just to be clear, this is not a journal to track how many hours you practiced or to critique your posture.
No, definitely not. It's a tool for internal reflection. You write down a step you enjoyed, the specific piece of music that moved you that day.
And most importantly, how the movement actually made you feel.
Right. It reinforces the idea that dance is fundamentally an internal practice of self-discovery, long before it ever becomes a public performance.
It is the absolute perfect way to start listening to that creative intelligence inside of you.
It really is. Well, we have covered the primal history, the complex math, and the communal joy of movement today. But there is one final, almost counterintuitive concept from this material that we need to touch on.
Yes, and it kind of completely redefines everything we've talked about up to this point.
Because throughout this entire discussion, we've equated dance with movement, right? Whether it is a macro leap or a micro movement of the eyes, we have focused on physical action.
But the text leaves us with a profound paradox. Stillness is also dance.
Stillness is also dance.
Think about it. If we truly accept that dance is not just athletic exertion, but a deep internal awareness of our feelings, our physical presence, and the space we occupy.
Then the absence of movement is just as powerful as the movement itself.
Exactly. So the next time you find yourself sitting quietly, doing absolutely nothing, pay attention to the creative intelligence inside you. In that total, motionless quiet, how might you already be dancing?